Post-apocalyptic settings. You know, the end of the world or society, bad stuff happening. In some shape or form, it always makes for a great video game setting. So today, we're looking towards the future and talking about 25 upcoming post-apocalyptic games that we're really looking forward to. Let's get started off with number 25 and talk State of Decay 3. Now, this latest from Undead Labs, as of right now, at the time of making this video, we still don't know too much about, but we do know it seems like it's going to have more of a winter-type setting, and if you know anything about Undead Labs and the awesome State of Decay games, is that they are basically zombie apocalypse survival management style games. It's the end of the world, zombies are everywhere, and it's up to you and a couple of survivors to figure out resources and just get through it. The previous games were a ton of fun, the formula is very interesting, and there's always room for it to be different and really be shooken up a little bit, and that's why we've been looking forward to State of Decay 3 the most. They really can do a lot more with the series, and we hope they do. Now, next over at number 24, we have Kingdom the Blood. Don't let this one blow you away too much, but I mean, graphics, combat-wise, it does look pretty awesome. Believe it or not, this is actually based on a popular Korean TV series, and it's essentially you in ancient Korea that is zombie-infested. Don't know anything about the show, but judging from the game, looking at it here, it looks like an absolute hellhole. This just looks like a potentially fun, satisfying, Souls-inspired game. Next over at number 23, we have Transformers Reactivate. This thing was announced with a big splashy CGI trailer, and that's all we really know about it. We do know it's going to be like kind of a multiplayer focused game, but the setup is really cool. It's essentially you, a bunch of humans on Earth, but you already lost. The bad guys won. They're in control, and it's up to you, like a small scrappy band, to take them down. And how do you do that? You dig up and salvage and repair and bring back to life some old Autobots that apparently died in some war on Earth. So it's you, kind of a ragtag group of kind of future Terminator style soldiers with seemingly a bunch of cool Transformers. It's a really cool concept. I am about that. We really hope they can capitalize on that concept, and hopefully we'll see more because there might be a beta coming in 2023. Next over at number 22, we have Pragmata. This is Capcom's take on kind of a weird, cerebral, post-apocalyptic, trippy adventure. Some would say it almost looks a little Death Stranding-like. And from what we have seen, mostly it's just graphics. Like, it seems like it's going to be a really powerful-looking game. From the graphical elements to the actual visual design here. Apparently, a lot of this is going to deal with, like, a future dystopian world on the moon. And to be honest, Capcom announced this one, and then it went totally dark. It looks like action-adventure. You might be exploring abandoned cities, and we just hope it's cool. Capcom's been putting out a lot of bangers lately, and we hope this one eventually is one of them. Now, next over at number 21, we have Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. We've talked about this one to death at this point. This game has been in the works for a long time, and it is the follow-up to the classic beloved PC franchise, where you are very much surviving in a post-apocalyptic landscape. You're going to be scrounging for supplies across these irradiated lands, fighting off against other bandits, but also dealing with some mysterious unknown entities and using your wits. This game looks absolutely incredible. If it's anything as big of a game changer as the original ones were on PC, we're all in. Next over at number 20, we have Crysis 4. Yeah, we don't really know anything too much about Crysis 4 yet, but it's safe to say that it's going to take place in a post-apocalyptic setting, especially if they continue after 3. Who knows what they're going to do, but Crysis 2 and 3 were both in a pretty post-apocalyptic setting after the aliens came and screwed everything up, so we're hoping they continue that trend. Next over at number 19, we have Showa American Story. This is quite a strange one, and I'm still not convinced this is an actual real game, but the concept is absolutely awesome. Essentially, it's an action-adventure game where you're this badass chick with a motorcycle journeying across the United States using swords and guns. The thing is, though, is that this is like a futuristic America where apparently, like, Japan has actually taken over a lot of it, like, bought it out economically, but something bad goes down, some sort of cataclysmic event where it's basically a zombie apocalypse. So everybody's dead, it's just you on this adventure and a bunch of zombies in your way. Seems pretty wild, seems over the top, and we hope it's as good as the concept sounds. Next, over at number 18, we have Arc Raiders. This is a third-person PvPvE extraction shooter. Now, we've seen a lot of those, of course, but this one just has a really, really incredible looking setting. This is a futuristic Earth that has been absolutely decimated by these mechanized bad guy threats, dubbed specifically ARC, or ARC. And this invasion, this takeover, apparently happened a decade ago, so the world is pretty ravaged. So with that stage set, it seems like it's going to be up to you and up to 3 other players to jump in and start looting and shooting. As of right now, Arc Raiders is just slated as coming soon, but we're hoping we see more of it soon. Next, over at number 17, we have Stellar Blade. You may have seen this one thanks to the really thrilling combat and graphics, and believe it or not, it takes place in a post-apocalyptic future where humanity is apparently driven away from Earth after they got their asses kicked in a war with some aliens that invaded them. That works for me. Any excuse to use a cool sword and do some cool combat, I'm in. Next, over at number 16, we have Frostpunk 2. As of the time of making this video, we don't know too much about this one, but we do know that the first Frostpunk absolutely kicked ass and is an incredibly fun city builder strategy style game that is just totally different. It's all around hard decisions and surviving in a harsh Snowpiercer style world where like the world is freezing to death and all you gotta do is try and keep your people warm, but that requires making a lot of hard decisions. I expect that to continue in the second game. It is absolutely brutal. It seems like there's going to be more of an oil war this time around. Who knows? But in terms of like strategy sim builder type games, Frostpunk 2 is like at the top of our list. Next, over at number 15, there's a new Terminator game that's pretty early in the works, and as of right now, it's just billed the Terminator Survival Project, and essentially it's taking from what developer-publisher Nacon did with their previous Terminator game that they kind of got right. Terminator Resistance did some interesting things, and now they're going for a kind of open-world survival-style game in the Terminator post-apocalypse, seemingly taking place not too long after Judgment Day, which is pretty interesting. This one's probably a ways off, but knowing how they did a fairly decent job and at least understood the Terminator franchise with the previous Terminator Resistance, we're hopeful. Next, over at number 14, we have Remnant 2. You may or may not remember, but this is the sequel to Remnant from the Ashes. And this time around, things are getting a lot more wild, where you're like the last survivors of humanity fighting off against all these crazy over-the-top monsters. You're going to be running and gunning in these scenarios either alone or with some players cooperatively, and the first game was really, really underrated. It's like ranged and melee combat. It's a really fun third-person hybrid, and playing it with friends was a blast. These games kind of build themselves on a lot of replayability, so expect a lot of cool post-apocalyptic monster slaying. Next, over at number 13, we have the really creative Outbreak Island. Here you're stuck on this remote island where this whole outbreak thing essentially brings to life a bunch of creepy monsters and zombies every night. So it's up to you to build up your base, prepare, and fight off the monsters. It is fully open world because you're on this massive island that is suffering from this outbreak, and you're gonna scrounge up stuff to really survive, but it's got more of a survival horror vibe to it than a just regular old survival game, and that's why we've been interested. As of right now, it's slated for 2023, and we hope to see more from it soon. Next, over at number 12, we have Once Human. This is a multiplayer open world survival game, and it seems incredibly ambitious. It's like in this weird post-apocalyptic future land filled with monsters. And despite the pretty eerie, beautiful landscapes, these monsters, in stark contrast, can be pretty horrific looking. There is apparently going to be some story and some secrets to uncover, and it's up to you to survive, build out territories, craft, and just be badass and kill monsters either alone or with friends. Just looking at it, it does seem like a very big, ambitious third-person shooter, almost kind of like a weird post-apocalyptic Stranger Things zombie Division. And if they can pull that off, seemingly slated for Q4 2023, we'd love to see it. Next, over at number 11, we have Synced Off Planet. This is a sci-fi shooter in a world that has been taken over by seemingly nanomachines. Essentially, like these creature-like things have been born out of nanomachines that humanity really embraced, but then there was this whole big collapse and they've taken over. So it's up to you in third person to run and gun against all these creatures and scientific monsters, but also use cool nanomachine tech yourself, like gliding and flying around, powerful blasts, even kind of like hoverboarding. It seems pretty sweet. When this was first revealed, I thought it looked a little corny, but now as the project has gone on, I'm curious to see what this really is. Next, over at number 10, we have Ghost Runner 2. This is the follow-up to the criminally underrated, super awesome Ghost Runner that released in 2020, and that took place in a kind of post-apocalyptic cyberpunk world, and it seems like the sequel is going to be doing the same, but with even more fast-paced, wall-running, jumping, cool combat action, and seemingly a motorcycle this time around, which, sign me up for that. Running, grappling, jumping, air dashing, and also riding a motorcycle through abandoned city streets, like crumbling, like it just seems pretty awesome. The first one was great, hopefully this one's great, and it's releasing sometime in 2023. Next, over at number 9, we have Ashfall. This is a post-apocalyptic shooter MMORPG with some pretty big ambitions. This is in a world where artificial intelligence started a war with humanity and launched nuclear weapons. We've heard that many times before, but the setting here actually looks a little bit more Fallout-like, but it goes like way further. Like it's this big, weird, desolate-looking world with giant worms, humanoid monster creatures, secret vaults underground, and all types of strange post-apocalyptic industrial-looking elements. You can loot and shoot alone or with friends. Like I said, it's an MMORPG, so it seems like it's going to be pretty big. It's being developed and published by NetEase, and we're going to see more from it hopefully Q3 2024. Next, over at number 8, we have Road to Vostok. This is, in their words, a hardcore single-player survival game that's set in a post-apocalyptic border zone between Finland and Russia. You're going to be running, gunning, looting, shooting, surviving, crafting, planning, using vehicles, hiding from others, crafting stuff and gearing up in underground bunkers, and generally just trying to progress and make your way across the border zone. But there's a lot of bad guys, so good luck with that. It seems like the game is going to be filled with a lot of stuff like shelters, maps, random dynamic game events to keep you busy, and it's another ambitious one. As of right now, we know it's coming to PC soon. Next, over at number 7, we have Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland. Now, if you know anything about The Division, you know it is a post-apocalyptic setting because the United States suffered a horrific outbreak and it's just you, Division agents, and a bunch of other factions. And this time around, it's a different spin on The Division. This is essentially the free-to-play one that takes place in rural America. So you're not necessarily running and gunning in a major metropolitan area. No, this time around, it's more about wide open spaces, and the game is apparently going to be adding in more survival game elements. It's got different game mode spins and a lot of a different flow to it, but I'm really curious to see how the free-to-play element really comes in, because I actually like The Division, but I'm really curious to see how the formula is going to be shaken up. Next, over at number 6, we have Pacific Drive. This is that really cool driving survival game. Essentially, you're stuck in this post-apocalyptic exclusion zone that's just filled with weird scientific anomalies and strange events, and you gotta get through all this, and the only way you can do that is with your trusty station wagon that has been tricked out with all manner of computers and modifications and power sources and survival elements. You're free to drive around environments, get out of your car when you want, grab things to help you get through these exclusionary zones and survive, and of course modify your car, reinforce it, give it more scientific elements to defend yourself, and just make it cooler. And there's a lot of variety to it that we've already seen so far from gameplay videos, but interestingly enough, it's actually run-based. This is a survival adventure that's not necessarily just about you running around and shooting zombies with guns. It's something different. I got to play an early version of this game at an event a few months back, and it seems promising. And as of right now, we're hoping to see more from it in 2023. Next, over at number 5, there's this upcoming survival game called Undawn, and it's been recently announced that Will Smith is going to be in the game. Not just like Will Smith, but he's actually reprising his role of Trey Jones from I Am Legend. Like, there's a cinematic reveal trailer. He looks a little weird, but that's a cool character to play as in a post-apocalyptic kind of survival game. That might be the coolest part of Undawn. There's still a lot more to be seen from this. Essentially, a pretty standard-looking PC and mobile survival game. It's being published by Tencent. It's free to play, so there's a lot of money in it, but quality-wise, I don't know yet. But it is kind of just a reminder that, like, an I Am Legend game would actually be really cool. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, so let's move on. Next, over at number 4, let's talk about Pioneer. This is a first-person action MMORPG where you're surviving and exploring. It's a PvE and PvP world, and visually it looks pretty stunning. You're fighting off against all manner of monsters and horrific bio creatures and bases filled with post-apocalyptic bad guy raider-looking dudes. The open world environment is apparently filled with a bunch of different factions that you can participate. The open world area is apparently filled with different factions that you can either fight against or take advantage of. And the visual style is pretty awesome. Will it actually live up to its lofty goals? We don't know for sure, but it's apparently out in 2023 according to their social accounts. But as of right now, this one's still a little mysterious. Next, over at number 3, we have Arizona Sunshine 2. It was recently announced that we're getting a sequel to the really awesome post-apocalyptic zombie-killing VR game. It's probably one of the cooler zombie-killing VR experiences, and we're hoping the sequel lives up to that. And that's saying a lot because there are a lot of cheap little VR games where you kill zombies, but none really do it with the flavor of Arizona Sunshine, so we're really hoping the sequel takes things to the next level. This adventure looks like it's got a lot more charm and personality to it, and we're excited to get our hands on it, or really our faces in it, in 2023. Next, over at number 2, we have Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. From Software, of course, the developers of stuff like Elden Ring and Dark Souls are going back to their roots with this mech action combat game that is set in a post-apocalyptic world in like a weird, obscure sci-fi way where humanity found this energy source, but unfortunately that energy source then essentially scorched an entire star system. So it's many, many, many years later, and now humanity is still fighting for this control of resources, but things are basically a mess. You're an independent mercenary pilot, and you're going to be taking jobs and doing cool combat and blowing up other mechs. Now, From Software has went on record saying that they're very much making a new Armored Core game. They're not just making a From Software Dark Souls, Demon Souls type game with robots. No, they're sticking to the old formula. I'm curious to see what they've learned. There's definitely going to be some elements here and there, but this series is being revived for a reason. It had a ton of fans back in the day, and we're really excited to see what they do with this one. It's releasing August 25th, 2023. Next, over at number 1, we have Death Stranding 2. Yes, Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions game is getting a sequel, and we don't really know too much about it so far. We see an older Sam. It seems like some characters are returning and possibly having a stronger role this time around, but all we can really highlight is that if we're talking about post-apocalyptic games, the original Death Stranding had a really, really unique spin on a post-apocalyptic setting. It was lonely, it was desolate, it was strange. Humanity was mostly living underground. The world was filled with these weird ghosts. The rain, if it gets on your skin, can age you. Like, I'm being a little ridiculous. There's a lot to it, and some of it's actually pretty smart and interesting. So we're excited to see how these concepts work into a sequel. As of right now, we don't know too much more about it other than that it's Death Stranding 2, working title, and maybe we'll see more of it in 2024. But hey guys, those are some post-apocalyptic set games that we're looking forward to in the near future and beyond. Of course, every game is a different level of post-apocalypticness, and everybody has their setting preferences, so let us know in the comments what you think about these games, and if you got any more you'd like to add, hit us up. If you like this video and just like talking about games with us every single day, clicking the like button helps us out. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.